we've never done before. We're actually trying this again, and I'm going just to see if this works now with a couple of changes and whatnot, and we'll go through everything once again. So we'll take it from the top. A couple of brief notes that I basically want to talk about real quick is the sense that we're still talking about multiple sclerosis, but also the sense that I'm also talking about mental health all the time. And the thing is, we remind you to please consult your doctor, your mental health professional, your outreach group, your sponsor, or specialist before adopting any change to your dietary, physical, and or mental health regime. If you're looking for options to go down with respect to mental health, contact SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, at 1-800-662-4357. Again, once again, 1-800-662-4357, or you can go to samhsa.gov. That service is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and is a confidential, free information service for those that are dealing with mental health stressors. More importantly, if you're feeling suicidal ideation and need to be put in touch with a crisis center, contact the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Again, 1-800-273-8255, or go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. You can also text the word HOME to 741-741. That service is also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Also, and most importantly, we talk about multiple sclerosis in the sense that I've been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis back in January. And we are still raising money for multiple sclerosis through A Venture to a Cure at rebrand.ly/aventuretoacure. If you want to know more about the National MS Society, an incredible organization that has raised more than $1 billion for multiple sclerosis and MS research, go to mssociety.org. Again, mssociety.org. Sorry, that is not the right graphic. nationalmssociety.org. Or call 1-800-344-4867. nationalmssociety.org, 1-800-344-4867. That is an amazing organization that has helped many folks with multiple sclerosis, including myself that has been diagnosed with it since January, and a lot of dear friends of mine that also have MS. Definitely a worthwhile organization, and definitely worth your attention, for sure. I'm going to see how the graphics work and everything, because this probably will work, I'm thinking. So on that, let's begin. In the course of the last 2 to 3 weeks, a lot of things have taken place. One with some more news, and one for a milestone I've been waiting for a while. We're going to talk about all of that tonight, because this is the Venture Forward. Today's MRI is on the left. The one from April is on the right. You are not seeing things. This is The Venture Forward. I am John Venturini, a recovering addict of obesity, overeating, alcoholism, and compulsive gambling. And as you can see in the bottom, this is a take two because we had massive technical difficulties in the 6:30 presentation. So we are live tonight at about 7:34 Eastern, 4:34 Pacific. I am John Venturini, and it's an honor and pleasure to see all of you again on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, as we are doing something for the first time we've done in 10 months, in the sense that we are trying to figure things out on the fly and trying to figure out exactly why certain things aren't going to as we thought they were, as far as graphics and audio and all that stuff. But it's an honor to see all of you again on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Might as well go to the comments real quick. Sarah, yeah, we are live. This is live. This is happening. We are live right now at 7:35 Eastern. After we did a show that the audio was in double and this, that, and the other thing. And yeah, there is a replay on YouTube with a noise problem. Yeah, yep, all of that happened. I do not know why there was a weird echo before. And I get the sense that there might be a couple of things that were wrong with my microphone and with Ecamm. So much to my educator's advice way back in the day, we reboot the computer and see what happens. And it seems to be working now. So fingers crossed that we'll get through some sort of take two and whatnot. But yes, this really is live streaming for sure. Also, I think a test. Like I was and right now this is, if you're watching this on replay and you're wondering why there's two of them, by all means, let me know in the comments. Is 7:30 Eastern a better time? Because I'm thinking once we start the fall season, we're going to do 7:30 instead of 6:30. But let us know. Let us know what works for you. Either way, it works. But I don't think that's going to reduce the technical gremlin, so to speak. But if 7:30 works for more people, we'll do 7:30. Audio seemed to be a wee bit low. I just raised the gain on my microphone, and let me check where we are with levels. I'll go a little bit higher here. Hopefully that sounds a bit better. Not that I'm trying to do any sort of ASMR video, but maybe we get better in that sort of sense. And Sarah reminds me, that's why we're trained. Yes, we are trained live streamers. And at some point, my promise to all of you, I'll get this right. I'm thinking by 2024, 2025, it'll be perfect, right? So we're going to quickly recap what we were talking about in the last hour, that when all the audio decided to be really weird. Two major things happened in this past week. That's why we are calling this a time to catch up, in the sense that Friday, 1 week ago, last Friday, an incredible thing happened on the scale, in the sense that it showed up with the number 1. It was 199. For someone who has dealt with most of his life in the 4s and the 3s, to see that 1 number once again for the first time since 2003 was an incredible moment. And it's a moment that I still cannot believe is happening, for sure. So that's a major development. We talk about the things that I'm trying to march to as far as my weight loss goals and my physical health. And we think about these sort of psychological barriers that we have on numbers. Weight, and BMI, and that sort of thing. And I feel a lot more confident now than I did, say, even 6 months ago. And certainly more than I did at the start of this journey in January of 2019. This is funny. I'm bringing it up. Sarah says, JV, if you make it by 2025 the way I'm lagging, it'll be 2030 something. 30 something, by the way, a great show. I was a big fan of 30 something. There's a show they need to bring back. It's definitely 30 something for sure. Should I try bringing up the graphics again? I'll try bringing them up in 1 second. Yes, under 200, and as was told to me in the attempt of doing an episode 630, it is truly Wonderland, as Sandy would say. So Wonderland for sure. I'm going to, in the true essence of live streaming, I'm going to bring up PowerPoint because I have my graphics in PowerPoint, and we'll see if I could do this without much issue. But I'll say this. I couldn't do this show without all of you. The people that have gravitated to the show since October of last year, all the people I've met in Live Streaming Pros and Impartial Geek, and then all the recovery groups as well, and that of Sober James, and Recovering Addict, and Real Recovery with Nicole. All of you have made such a dramatic effect on me, and I am thankful. I am so appreciative of all of you, and I love you dearly, all of you. So let's try showing some graphics. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'll probably be tossing one of these two episodes. It'll probably be the 630 one. We'll find out. But let's go over here. Well, that looks good. We call this time to catch up because there are two major things that have happened in the last 2 weeks. We're going to talk about that right now. In a sense that there's that graphic with the weight loss and what that scale said on Friday at 199. When I started this journey back in January of 19, I was at 480 pounds. 480. Let that sink in for a second. I was at a point where I couldn't walk more than 5 feet without needing to sit down. I was at a point where if I was having a panic attack, I was thinking I was having a heart attack. Have I seen a cardiologist or 5? Yes. So it's something where I was definitely on the verge of dying, whether financially, by way of gambling, whether by way of my liver, by way of drinking, or by way of my body, by the amount of horrible things I was eating. I was on the verge of death. And if I was going to take one more crack at this and figure out exactly why I was putting this weight on, I knew it was, as I've said before on this show, up here. It's always up here. It's definitely something where we have to go back to why we do what we do. There is a reason why we drink. There is a reason why we compulsively gamble. There is a reason why we eat everything on the table and then some. There is a reason why we closet eat. It's because something was not working upstairs. And that certainly was the case with me. So we talk about why this happened. Why the weight was coming off. Well, the weight was coming off the first 2-3 months of it, but it was until I realized I am indeed an alcoholic. And I stopped drinking in May of 2019. That's when the weight started falling off. Funny side note that we didn't talk about in the first attempt of this episode. When I lost the weight the second time, I stopped drinking for about 6 months. And I started drinking again, and I was keeping the weight off and everything, and then I started drinking a lot more. So there is an incredibly bad, nefarious effect of alcohol and weight loss. Alcohol and metabolism. I've heard the term metabolism paralyzer in that of alcohol. And with me, That's certainly the case. So there's something to be said about alcohol and its bad effect on weight loss. Its bad effect on metabolism. So I know that's the case. And if there's any question, any doubt of that, all you need to do is look at that graph. Look at that graph. Notice when that number started drastically coming down. It was the day I realized, and the day I said, I'm not drinking anymore. The day I realized that I have hit my bottom. The day of the 2 pitchers of margaritas, every single drink you could possibly think of. Bourbon, wine, 900 other things. Well, it wasn't 900, but it was a night that had a reversal of fortune at 3:45 the next morning. And I guarantee you that was the last time I drank. And will be the last time I drink, because I never felt as crappy as I did for the next week and change. This is stuff we talked about on the alcoholism episodes. It's worth mentioning again because it's part of the story. It's all interconnected. So, how did we get here? My weight in the beginning of 2019 was 480 pounds. The first day I started tracking food within this regime was February 16th of 2019. The day I was out of the 4s was July 10th of 2019. The day I was out of the 3s, December 18th, 2019. When I reached the lowest of the last go round, so basically the lowest weight I was in 2010, 2011, the second time I lost weight. That was April 29th, 2020, the weight in question, 245. At the end of 2020, and a visit to the Chester County Emergency Room with the effects of demyelination and multiple sclerosis, 212. And then on July 2nd, as I mentioned before, 199. 2 goals of main interest here. The next goal, ETA, I'm shooting for end of September, would be 185. And my last goal, my final goal, which is going to be a bit adventurous here, but would be 170 to 180 around Thanksgiving. It's a plan I know I can commit to. It's a plan I know I could succeed at, for sure. So, why not proceed forward? Why not go ahead? But also try to tackle everything else that has been affecting me. And also continuing to talk about it. Continuing to be open and honest about all this. Because if there's anything we have learned since October, this story is connected in many different ways. Going back to Maine for a second. We talk about a problem in that of class 4 morbid obesity, a BMI of the upper 60s near 70. We talk about a problem with compulsive gambling, one that caused me to go bankrupt, chapter 13. We talk about a problem with alcoholism in the sense that 1 becomes 2, becomes 4, becomes 8. There is no satiation. We talk about a history of codependency, co-addiction. We talk about multiple sclerosis. We talk about divorce. Not necessarily in that order. But all of these are intertwined to the human experience. A human experience that I can talk to, my life. And I can rest assured it has affected many of you too. That's why we do what we do. So, the weight loss, I would think, is basically the bare bones addiction. The weight loss is basically the bare bones problem outside of changing the way I think, changing the way I approach things, meditating, journaling, being open and honest, therapy, whether it's internal family systems or CBT or whatever. This has all been part of the story. And I will always remain adamant about all these things. There are pieces of the story I have not talked to yet. Over the rest of the summer and into season 3, we will start to talk about them. Because deep down inside, they were problems too. Let's go back to a couple of graphics here, in the sense that we are still raising money for the National MS Society at rebrand.ly/adventure to a cure. Much thanks to all of you that have basically donated money to the National MS Society through Venture to a Cure, or any of our friends' fundraising pages for the National MS Walk back in May. It's an incredible organization, as I mentioned before in the pre-roll. $1 billion for MS research, and mainly one of the leading charities out there that are trying to battle something that is affecting so many people. And that number, I think, is an understated number if you talk to any neurologist. Last time I checked was about 1.1 million rather, in the United States. But I think that number is growing for sure. And then, of course, the work of the National MS Society can be seen at their main website, nationalmssociety.org. So this MRI, as we talk about this now, something that I am fully adamant to tell you that when I was a much bigger man, there was no way in heck I would be in that MRI machine. At 200 pounds, I can definitely go into it without a problem. I think my perspective on it has drastically changed as well. So there's that too. The study is being done through the University of Pennsylvania. It's being co-chair of this study is my neurologist over at UPenn, an incredible person who has walked me down this road. I took a baseline set of MRIs back in January. I took a 3-month MRI, which would be 2 weeks after the second half infusion of Osiris back on April 27th. I took a 6-month study, 6-month image on Tuesday, which would be 12 weeks after Osiris. I go back for the next round of Osiris in October. This is being done at the Perelman Center, University of Pennsylvania. Incredible people over there. Much thanks to all of you on that team, but also within neurology at UPenn. You are incredible people, and I am really thankful for all of you. Osiris is basically a medication that is taken twice a year. It's a 4-hour infusion with 2 starter doses 2 weeks apart. So basically it was the sort of thing where the first infusion was March 31st. The second one was April 14th. Old graphic, it wasn't yesterday, it was April 14th. MS is caused by your immune system attacking the myelin sheath around the nerves in your brain and your central nervous system. Osiris, the main strategy for Osiris is that it targets certain B cells, as B cells play a central role in the MS development as they activate the immune system in multiple ways, basically including recruiting T cells to attack the neurons. And you think of what your myelin sheath does in a normal functioning central nervous system, a normal functioning brain. Your myelin sheath looks like what is in the upper right-hand corner. When you have demyelination or full-blown multiple sclerosis, you have a myelin sheath that looks like what is in the lower right-hand corner. Hence, interrupting the communication between the synapse activity in the nucleus and the dendrites along this important pathway of communication. So your brain can do things, so your central nervous system can do things, so you can see straight. We talk about one of the major symptoms of multiple sclerosis and that of optic neuritis, optic freezing, the ability not to move your eye, or the inability to move your eyeball in a normal way, and sometimes accompanied with pain. We talk about the treasure trove, if you will, of symptoms that are tied to multiple sclerosis. We talk about optic neuritis. We talk about desensitization. So touching top of your skin and not feeling anything, or feeling a very muted sensation. Drop leg, so your leg not working the right way, not being able to hold balance real well. Brain fog, the inability rather to remember things, because now basically your lesions are playing against the back of your brain, your memory cells and whatnot. Point being is that multiple sclerosis affects people in many different ways, is totally dependent on where the lesions actually pop up. Doing these MRIs have proven exactly where some of these lesions are, where this sort of disruption of communication takes place. Personally, my story real quick, over the last 10, 11 years, my handwriting has wavered a bit. I've had optic freezing. I've had brain fog. I've had moments where there has been a bit of a lack of communication between my leg and my body. And yet, it hasn't been completely debilitating and not completely dismissive. I'm not in an ambulatory sort of state, so to speak. Going on a medication like Ocrevus, even diagnosed with relapsing multiple sclerosis or relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis, gives me a chance to live as long of a life as I can. Try to accomplish the things I can do in this life, including any sort of career aspiration, any sort of self-help, self-recovery sort of aspiration, as far as continuing to do more of this. There are a lot of things I want to do, especially now that I have a physical health that is a lot better than the physical health I had back in January of 2019. We think about the brain in the sense of these are certain things that is in charge of certain functions of the brain, certain functions of the sort of response between the brain and the body. We think of the parietal lobe as the intelligence and the reasoning towards the back. We talk about things like the frontal lobe as far as movement. Fortunately, a lot of what I've been dealing with is more on the temporal lobe as far as memory is concerned, but also a bit of what is on the parietal lobe as well. And truth be told, when we get back together next week, I'll have more on exactly where my neurologist has seen the heaviest of the lesion activity in the last 3 scans. But certainly it's a thing where you have to stay on top of these sort of things and understand exactly where it's affecting and where the lesions are popping up. Anytime you can go on a medication that halts an exacerbation or pauses exacerbations is definitely a step in the right direction. There is no cure per se for demyelination for multiple sclerosis. There is treatment. There is no Lorenzo's oil, so to speak. It talks about remyelination, trying to basically come up with a myelin sheath. There are studies out there as far as the relation of certain prescription drugs and what it may do to the myelin sheath, especially myelin sheaths that are depleted. There's a study going on right now as far as a popular diabetes medication of metformin and what it can do as far as the rehabilitation of myelin, rehabilitation of the myelin sheath. I don't think we know the entire story yet as far as what we can do to not only stop the exacerbations, but also repair the damage that has been done. And it's a brave new world we're experiencing right now. There are so many research studies going on right now, so many trial drugs that are out there. The number I last heard was something like 10 to 12 new drugs that are looking to make the landscape within the next 2 to 3 years. Now, certainly, given the enigma of 2020, you would think, well, that's going to hold us back a bit. It has actually stepped up research because a lot of the things that have been found in that sort of medical research, that sort of pharmaceutical work, has also made benefit for other disorders like multiple sclerosis and cancer, from what I've been hearing as well. That sort of connection we will talk more about over the next few weeks. As far as the go forward, as far as the rest of this summer season, we're going to talk about exactly what my neurologist has come back with as far as what he has seen, MRI versus MRI versus MRI. We'll talk about it a bit more deeper than just a 35,000 foot view. Moreover, we're going to start talking about how important the different components of the diet actually is. And how, yes, indeed, you have to start with the mind, first, foremost, and paramount. But once you have that and you realize the things that were holding you back from a dietary perspective, alcoholism, etc., and then realizing that you have enough energy to move around more, try and move the words around a bit, and how important that activity and that diet and movement is, in addition to exercise, in addition to diet rather, you now are starting to come up with a complete picture on how to basically rewrite the wrongs of a 480-pound body. We'll talk about that a bit more. I will also talk a bit towards the sort of cardiovascular activity and strength training I've been doing as well. It's not necessarily me doing bench pressing of massive weight, but it's a lot of stuff that I never thought I had the balance and agility to do, and I'm learning more and more that I give something enough of a try, I can actually do it. We'll talk about all that next week. Tuesday and Thursday as of right now, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, but I'm thinking come the fall, that time might be moving to 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, but we'll let you know well in advance of that. Tomorrow, we'll be doing a VF Talks with Paul Burke, Matt Haas, 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific, when we talk about anything and everything. Basically a conversation. And hopefully, knock on wood, I'll have working equipment and working software to do that without doing a take two. But that said, we'll find out tomorrow afternoon for sure, aren't we? Until then, I'm going to say again the same thing I say at the end of every Venture Forward VF Talks. Stay safe. Stay safe, stay sane, stay strong, stay sober. You're worth it. I'll see you tomorrow night at 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific. Fly be free.